Ding, for example, I think we're going to have a lot of questions answered in just a couple of weeks when Norway starts.
Okay, so
Because
you remember my prediction, right? It was a year ago.
the
Norway Chess last year.
yes, that's true. No,
I told you he would be the number two in China. I thought it was a joke at the start. I really did. And then I got invited to play. Like, do you want to play this tournament? And at first I was like, well, I can see if I can find someone to stake me because I'm not going to risk $1 million. Um, but I didn't expect to. But somehow I did find someone to stake me.
welcome back, chess fans, to another episode of the C Squared podcast. We just recorded one with Maurice a couple of days ago, and now, Fabi, you're ready to take off. You're going to Europe, still in St. Louis, it seems like, from the background, but you're getting ready for some travels, some tournaments. Tell us a bit about that. Let's chat about your future travels. You're leaving to where?
Yeah, I'll stop over in Spain for a bit and then I'll go to Norway. So that's the next event. And that starts, I believe, on the 27th of May. So it's quite soon. It's a very strong event, of course. Norway Chess always is. It's a double round robin this time, which is new. Maybe not new for Norway Chess, but new at least in the last few years. I think in 2020 it was also a double round robin. But during the pandemic, of course, that was kind of for special reasons. They couldn't get too many players. But this time it's with Magnus, naturally, with Ding, who is the world champion, with Alireza, uh, with Pragnananta, and with Gukesh. Or did I get something wrong?
I don't think so.
With
No, that sounds more or less correct, but I'm sure everybody else will correct
Oh,
us
and
once.
sorry, no, I did get something wrong.
You did? Okay. Which one is
It's
it?
with Hikaru, of course. I need to mention that Hikaru
The winner
is,
from last year.
yeah, he's the reigning champion of Norway chess from last year. Somewhat unfortunately from my point of view, but he did win deservedly. And let me just, because I'm not sure about Pragnanda. Is he playing? Yeah, he is playing. So I got that right. So Magnus, Hikaru, just in rating order, Ding, Pragnanta, and Alireza,
Yeah.
and myself.
And I
Those
think
are
this year is going to be a double round robin, which is a new
yes.
format, less players, more games between the players. So you're going to play twice against all of those
Mhm.
players that you just mentioned. There's also a women's competition, women's Norway chess, that's
Yes,
happening in parallel.
that's a change. That's a
That's
new change. So the women's tournament is with Humpy Kaneru, Lei Ting Jie. I'm just looking at the list now. I didn't memorize this. Ju Wenjun, who is the world champion, Anna Muzichuk, Vaishali Ramesh Babu, and Pia Kremlin, who is by far the oldest player in the competition, but still quite high rated. But I think she's around 60 years old.
mm-hmm.
So it's remarkable that she can
still
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 compete.
active, still active.
Yeah, at the highest level. This is like similar to, let's say, Fortunately in terms of longevity and to be playing at the highest level at the age of 60 is quite amazing. And so it has a lot of candidates. Lei Tingje, Humpy, Kaneru, Anamuzicuk, and Vaishali all played the candidates. Wenjun is the world champion, and Pia Kramlin uh, hasn't didn't play the candidates, but the other players did. So it's interesting. It's also a very strong tournament.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. And Pia actually has been quite active, not on social media necessarily, but due to the fact that her daughter is very well known, Anna Cromling, on YouTube and social media in general. She has been doing some commentary as well. So she's getting embedded into the ecosystem slowly but surely. So it's good to see Pia back, let's say, over chessboard, but also in other duties. Now, Norway Chess actually happens before Karen's Cup, so we're getting so many women's events, one after the other, in fact. Golden age, more or less, for being a chess professional, a woman's chess professional. You have so many new opportunities, which is cool. Great to see. So, yeah, no, very excited about that.
Well, it's interesting about the prizes because for probably the first time in history, they have equal prizes in the open section and the women's in Norway chess, I mean,
Hmm.
which is look, I understand that some people will be critical of this and some people will like it. It's to me, it's like I have no problem with more money in chess as long as it's not taking away money from other areas of chess. Then it's a discussion. But if it's just extra money, then I can only see it as a positive thing. But because the women's ratings are significantly lower, there will be some criticism of that. But yeah, more money in chess overall good. But yeah, as you mentioned, let's say if they win, if one of the players wins Norway Chess among the women, and then wins the Karen's Cup, and I think there's going to be some overlapping players who play both, they will make like 100 grand or so, something around that range between the
Yep.
two tournaments,
Well, Karen's
which
Cup
is
first place is 50,000. I don't know exactly how
yeah,
much Norway is, but
I
I know
think it's
Karen's Cup.
more. I think it's more. Maybe it's like 60.
Wow. Yeah. No, that's
I could be off on that.
that's a
It could even be more. But yeah, it's like a very significant amount of money if you win both tournaments. So, uh, like as a woman chess player, if you're near the top, then you actually make a very or can make a very hefty living if your results are really high, if your results are really good. So a player like Wen Jun, who's playing World Championship match, also with a decent prize one, can make like very good money.
no, absolutely. And this has been a discussion online recently because of Jordan's tweet about being a chess professional and not being able to um, make ends meet, basically, as a chess professional only, as a player that plays only, doesn't worry about social media, doesn't worry about creating content, just basically conditions have worsened in the past few years. And, there's pros and cons to that statement. There's right things and some things that I don't think they're necessarily correct. I think in general that is becoming more and more difficult to be a chess professional only. At the same time, there's more and more opportunities around the chess ecosystem, like being a chess professional, not necessarily just a chess player. You can be teaching, and because of the internet nowadays, you can have so many more students from all over the world. You can be a Twitch streamer. You can be a content creator on other social media platforms. Like there's so many other avenues in which you can support yourself as a chess professional. But yes, one thing he's
Oh,
definitely right is getting way more competitive in the open events, and perhaps this was one of his main point behind the post, that in open events it's so much more difficult for a 2650 plus um, to win competitions, to win money, to support their lifestyle.
well, this is the thing because people always say there's more money in chess, and like that's improved in let's say the last 10 years, 15 years. And I can say that in some ways maybe that's true, but it's not overall the case. So if I look back, on the tournaments I played 10 years ago when I was still around the same rating as I am now, around the same ranking in the world, um, I don't think I necessarily made less money. Though the way that money got increased is in online events mostly, not in terms of over the board events so much. And also yeah, there's more competitiveness now.
Yes, way
So
more.
there are a lot of really strong players who uh we can point to Arjun as an example because he's playing a lot of the open tournaments, who are happy to play opens because they're trying to break through. And they're still very young, so they're not thinking so much about money, they're thinking about the breakthrough. And they do get invitations to events, but they don't get maybe enough that they're happy to just play the closed events like the Grand Chess Tour and so on. Like, yeah, Arjun will get invitations here and there, but he also does supplement that with a lot of open tournaments, which you can't criticize him for. I mean, first of all, everyone's free to play whatever tournaments they want as long as they're invited to them. And if he's ready to risk his rating and he's not really taking much money for it, then it's actually more commendable than anything else. Uh, that he's not playing for money, that he's just trying to improve his rating and his results and get, let's say, well, he's already like top six in the world, top five. But yeah, it's there aren't more events than in the past. It's I actually have a feeling that there may be less events if we compare to
Are you talking closed tournaments or open tournaments?
closed tournaments. Yeah. Now you have like a lot of random events, but they're very often very, very closed and a lot of online events. And online events have their own ecosystem. They have their own economy and they have their own problems, which we can definitely get into, but I think people can guess some of the issues with online events. That being said, you can also make a lot of money from online events. Like last year, I got to the final of the Champions Chess Tour, and I guess I made around
Quite
150
quite a significant
prizes from all the online events last year.
penny.
And
Yeah.
some players like Magnus make a huge, but again, we're only talking like Magnus is already very wealthy. We're not talking about him necessarily. We're talking about the guys who are maybe 2720 or like Jordan 2690 to 2700, for example.
Well,
So
Jordan
players,
nowadays is like 2670, but yes,
sure, yeah,
he's been around 2690, 2720 for a
he's
while.
over 2700. But yeah, his
Yes.
rating will perhaps oscillate a bit. But once you're in this rating range, like let's say top 30 in the world, let's say number 30 right now is Amin Tabatabai, 2711. And if you go 10 points down, you're going to be in like top 40. Players like Aravind, Saric, Yesipenko, Artemiev, these players don't really get invitations, even though they are very,
No,
or Hans.
2730,
Han-
very difficult.
Hans is an outlier because he has this name, he has this reputation, which means that he does get like the most random invites sometimes, which we will mention in a bit, I guess, but we'll talk about it in a bit. But he also Hans, even with his reputation, he does mostly play open tournaments like Dubai Global Tournament that he just played, the Sharjah Masters, which is currently ongoing. So all these players, they rely on a lot of these open tournaments with no money,
Yeah.
like you already mentioned.
Well,
Um,
I want to push back a little bit on that because the open tournaments, in fact, at least to my feeling, and I have to say I don't have any data to back that up, but my feeling is that I'm seeing more and more open tournaments, and in general, the prize fund has increased. So you will see a bunch of events where the prize fund is 5,000 for first, maybe 10,000 for first in some of these open tournaments. Sharjah, I'm not 100% sure. I think it's a bit more than that. So I do feel like we have more open events with larger prize funds, but at the same time, and that's perhaps something due to FIDE's support of open tournaments as well. I think they have some sort of a fund, 200,000 per year, which they use to give open tournaments.
200,000 a year is
It's not
absolutely
a
nothing.
lot. It's not a lot. It's not a lot. It's just a way
Split
to
over split over like dozens of players and
exactly,
no,
exactly.
so the thing is I actually completely disagree, and I'm just thinking back on the time that I played open tournaments,
Sure.
which is now we're going to like
Let's say
2008, 2000, 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011. And in 2012 I started to get the invites too because my rating increased to 2770 plus.
sure.
Before that, um, so when I played like the last open tournament I played before I got to, let's say, the top five in the world was the Reykjavik Open in 2012.
Hmm.
And the first prize was 5,000. And it
Yes.
was so much weaker than the tournaments that are like the Dubai Police, whatever.
Agree.
So much weaker. Like the second seed um was under 2,700. I think I was the only 2,700 player, and there was only a few over 2,600.
Yes.
And I remember like playing like the Vlissingen Open in 2007, which I won when I was still around 27, 2550.
Hmm.
And I think the first prize there was around 5,000.
Okay.
There was, I think, two players over 2,600, maybe three. I think it was like Tiviakov, Kazimjanov,
Yes.
and um Jan Smeets, maybe.
Sure. But the point being that there are way less players around that level for sure.
Yeah, and the money was not worse. And they would offer conditions. They would give you like I don't know if they offer conditions anymore,
But that's
I think
worse. No. But
yeah,
that's
so it's getting worse.
no. Back in your days, $5,000 for the first place was probably one of the biggest opens in the world. And
Blissigan Open.
yeah, I remember Reykjavik. I remember Plovdiv. I think
Okay,
they had at some point.
Reykjavik is a big one for sure, but the Vlissingen Open was not like a big, like these Spanish tournaments, they would offer pretty decent money. I got starting fees as 2,600 for open tournaments.
Yes, I
I
agree.
was getting like, okay, not a big starting fee, but like 2 grand, I think I got when I was 2,680.
No.
I don't think
Conditions
I get any.
were absolutely conditions. No debate about that. Conditions were definitely better. So you were getting a guaranteed price. You were getting a guaranteed, let's say, appearance.
Well, okay, but 2,000 covers your expenses, uh,
Yes.
like food and travel. I mean, just like let's go to Jordan's tweet. So this is from his tweet.
Hmm.
Financial conditions and prize funds are dire. Even 2,600, 2,699 are sharing rooms with no coverage for flights. So that means you have to cover your flight, and it looks like they're putting GMs together to share rooms, so they save on so they probably cover like a room for more than one person.
Yes.
But you like let's say if I was looking up flights recently.
At the 2,500
Like,
level, this was never something unusual. Like I can tell
but
you,
we're talking up to 2,699.
right?
So these are players like Aravind is 2693. Like Yesipenko is 2691, so on and so forth. I think they're both playing Sharjah. That's why I mentioned them. And so we're not talking about 2500s. We're talking about players who are top 30 in the world. So let's say a flight, you can probably get a cheap flight for under a grand. But I don't know. It's like I was looking up flights from economy tickets from Europe to US for July,
Hmm.
like 2 grand, I think. Okay, you can get cheaper, but they're pretty expensive
Hmm.
uh, for a
No,
one
very
way.
expensive, very expensive. Yeah,
Yeah,
flights
flights are on the
flights are
high
very
side these days. Of
expensive.
course, you can look around. You can probably get some. Well, if you especially if you take like these awful flights that are super long, then you can maybe get something really cheap, but you still are probably paying 1,000 in travel. And okay, you get your room covered, but like winning the tournament is not a guarantee, even
Absolutely
for
not.
if I play, it's not a guarantee.
Yes.
Uh, if Magnus plays, it's not a guarantee for him. Because like who are the people at the top of the rating list? It's Arjun, it's Amin, it's Yu Yang Yi. These are 2,700 plus guys. Of course, yeah, it's possible to win this tournament, but
Hmm.
if you get like sixth place, you probably go home with nothing after 10 days of work,
Absolutely,
uh,
I agree.
which doesn't seem like.
It's it's much more condensed towards the winners. So the very top of the tournament will get rewarded while everybody else will lose money. Inflation basically made it much more unaffordable to travel. So, despite the fact that, sure, the prices have increased, and I do believe that the prices in general have increased, the number of open tournaments have increased. Like, for example, in Sharjah right now, first price is 12,000. In Qatar Masters or uh, Dubai Police Open, whatever it was called, I think it was over 10,000 in that one as well. And those were back-to-back events, something that we've never had 15 years ago when I was playing open tournaments. Um, so it's much more geared towards the lion's share, and conditions in general are going to worsen for, um, yeah, uh, conditions basically, just guaranteed conditions. These are never going to come back, just for the simple fact that the organizers cannot afford it anymore. There's so many players, organizers cannot afford it to offer them that.
And and Jordan is generally correct that the FIDE circuit, it really does encourage people to play these opens, which is not a bad thing, but it is going to lead to this situation. Um, because let's say if you're a player like Arjun and you have a very legitimate shot of qualifying through the FIDE circuit, and you don't really care about money because, well, first of all, I think Arjun like got a very hefty sponsorship, like $3 million over a few years.
And this
So
was what's his name? Uh, what's his name? This was the idea proposed by um, the Azeri guy. I'm trying to remember his
Oh,
name.
Durabali.
Vasif, yes, that the Indian players are getting
So,
sponsored.
okay, well, I don't know the financial like state of most players, but the Indian players do get very good sponsorships, which is of course a good thing for them. You can't complain. They're getting money, they're raising funds, and chess is popular in India. That's overall a good thing. Uh, so yeah, I understand if it's like annoying, but you can't really like use this as a complaint. Uh, but the thing is, like, if you're, let's say, Arjun, I'm just using him as an example. You could also say Hans, for example, because he's also one of the players who is high up in the FIDE circuit, uh, or other players as well. There's going to be a lot of people who have a chances in the FIDE circuit. Now, you're 20 years old and you're doing financially pretty well, so you don't really have to worry about if you're like breaking even in a tournament or potentially losing a grand. It doesn't like for me also it wouldn't be a consideration. If I play an open tournament, it's not to make money, it's because I probably want to get chances in the FIDE circuit. Uh, so you don't care about that part. But this actually gives you a very good chance of playing the candidates. And in the candidates, maybe you have like a 10% chance of winning and qualifying for the match.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a 2770 player, yeah, 10% is like a reasonable odds to give someone, right?
Yeah.
So, and then you play a world championship match, and this is like vastly more important. So from let's say Arjun's perspective, it's just very logical to play. It doesn't make sense not to play, unless he thinks that he's going to be super tired playing all these tournaments. But if you're 20, maybe you don't care too much about tiredness as well. So yeah, it's leading to a strange situation. On the one hand, economically, it's probably not good. On the other hand, um, what are you going to do about it? Like, is there a solution?
Well, my question for you is, what exactly are we arguing in this instance? Are we arguing that the situation is much more difficult for players that just want to play chess to make a living? Or are we arguing that the situation is more difficult for players to qualify as the candidates, which is obviously not? Like, what exactly are we arguing?
No, no, it's much easier for players to try to qualify for the candidates because they have this additional route, which
Yes.
is
But
now
this
you can
should be a
argue that
good
that's a
thing,
good thing.
right?
You can argue it's a good thing. But on the other hand, like the candidates is supposed to include the strongest players. So it depends if you consider like if I just give you an example, like let's say at the end of the year that someone realistically who could win wins. For example, I tell you that Predke has qualified to the candidates via the FIDE circuit. Now it's not maybe likely, but it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, there would be nothing against him because he would qualify via a completely legitimate route. But would the system be best? Because we would probably say Predke is not among the top players in the world, right? I mean, he's number
But
60 in the world. He's a
in
very good player,
order
but
to
he's
qualify for that, for the candidates via the FIDE circuit, he would need to consistently perform at a very high level. Consistently.
that's not true. You don't have to consistently perform. You just have to do it 5 times.
That's pretty consistent.
No, no, you can play a dozen tournaments. You play terribly in half of them, and you play well in 5 of them.
Again, winning 5 open tournaments, let's say. Okay, I'm not saying that
Well,
the
winning
system is
or
perfect. The system is far from perfect. And obviously, we've already discussed this in terms of points and how easy it is to win
sure.
points in open tournaments versus closed events, very high level closed events. But at the same time, winning 5 open tournaments in a year with all this competition that's springing up, like 2700s at every corner playing these open tournaments, this is not
Well, you
easy.
don't have to win 5. You just have to do well in 5 potentially. Like, um, okay, so currently Noterbeck is leading
Yes.
by a pretty decent margin because although he has a very small margin in terms of points, he's played one less event than Arjun.
Mm-hmm.
But this could all change because Arjun, one of his tournaments was sixth place in the Grand K Open, which is 6.99 points, and that one he'll probably replace with something better.
Mm-hmm.
But let's just take, I don't know, like in fifth place is Darda,
Yes.
who has 34.89 points. He won the Sardinia World Chess Festival.
Yes.
I don't know what his performance was there,
Big
but
open tournament. Yes.
yeah, I would suspect that he did not play an average rating 2658, which is what the um, top 8 players' average rating was, 2658. I don't think he played that average overall.
No,
He maybe played an
no,
average
no,
of
no,
20
no,
or 20,
for sure not.
maybe. Then he got first place in Djerba International Chess Festival with the top 8 players 2590, and that's in Tunisia.
I remember that one
So
with
he won
Hans
2
and
open.
Ivanchuk.
Yeah. But again, it's like just because, and then he scored 8th place in like Menorca Open, which maybe he lost rating there, and 3rd place in Tata Steel Challengers, which got him 10 points, which again, like that part is the most bewildering to me because 3rd place in Tata Steel Challengers got him 10 points, and Gukesh got 2nd place in Masters and got 14 points,
Yeah, no,
which
again,
is like,
the amount
okay,
of
this
points
part
that
is
you
just,
can gain is obviously kind of idiotic. Um, Somebody needs to change that, and they need to do it ASAP because it's going to create a lot of problems.
oh,
Obviously,
they can't change it midway. That's something they
not
can't do.
anymore. Yeah, they're kind of stuck with it for this cycle, but in the future they should definitely do something about it.
I think it's
Um,
also like if we're counting rapid and blitz results. And so the way I see it when you include rapid and blitz is that if you include rapid and blitz, it should matter for something, or you just don't include it at all, which is also an option. Like you say rapid and blitz is not part of the candidate, so we're not including it. So for example, Wei got 2nd place in the super bet poll in rapid and blitz.
mhm.
But he also had like one of the best results in the history of the Grand Chess Tour because just Magnus had half a point more. But Magnus scored like 26 and he scored 25 and a half, which is like an astonishingly good result from
Yes,
Wei.
yes,
Uh, so that is the same as Darda's, like the same amount of points as Darda's 3rd place in Tata Steel Challengers, which is a pretty like normal average result. Like 3rd place in Tata Steel Challengers, you probably perform like 2650 or maybe less. Um, maybe a bit more, actually. I'm not exactly sure. But yeah, it's not like some astonishing result. So if Rapid and Blitz is so lowly weighted that 2nd place and this incredible result by Wei Yi matters the same as, then they just shouldn't include it at all because otherwise it's like Rapid and Blitz is not going to really count for much. So why are we throwing it in there?
I do believe that you make a very good point, and we already have a way to solve that. It's called a URS, a Universal Rating System, the one proposed by Gary, used by the Grand Chess Tour. Sometimes I'm not sure if it's still in use, but I know they were using it for a few years at least. URS combine classical, rapid, and blitz. It used to be kind
Okay,
of a
I'm
laughing
gonna push
matter.
back on the URS
You don't like
too.
the URS? Why is that?
Well, it's like I don't know
But
their
it used to be a
system.
laughing matter, yeah. But nowadays, with rapid and blitz becoming so much more important, it just feels like they were a step ahead of the curve, I guess.
I mean, I understand if you include these, like, but I don't know how they do it. But I'll just tell you some things that you'll be like, what is this? How can this possibly be? Um,
Okay.
like, okay, so Shant Sargsyan, like I'm not going to name players in a way to like to put them down,
Yes.
but Shant Sargsyan is 59 in the world
In URS.
in URS.
Okay.
This this is higher than, I'm just like going down the list. This is higher than Jeffrey.
Okay. Okay, I can see that. Yeah. I mean, Jeffrey's
You can see that
2640
how,
nowadays. I mean,
but
Sarkisian
Sargsyan
right now is at
lower.
2637 in
Like in
classical.
like all his ratings, right? He's a lower in all ratings, or like how did this happen?
I'm not sure, but let's check. Okay.
He's
So
higher than Korobov. He's higher than Wojtaszek. He's he's higher than Jordan.
Sarxian is 26 plus in all three right now. Classical, rapid,
So
and blitz.
how is he higher than Jordan, for example?
Let's see. I'll tell you in just a second. Jordan right now, his rating is classical 2664, rapid 2659, blitz 2606. Okay, he shouldn't be higher than Jordan.
Okay, so tell me, how is Bortnik higher than Ray Robson?
They might be using some Okay, that's yes.
Okay,
You
I'll give
got
you
me.
some.
Okay, you got me.
How
Bo-
how
First of all,
is
boarding doesn't play
no? I got
over the
some more
board
for you.
chess as much, at least.
How is Sindarov higher than Keimer?
You're
Yeah,
asking good questions.
like Keimer is so low rated according. He's 39 in the world. I mean, Keimer is like 2740,
In classical, I would assume he's close to that.
but in this system, he's lower than Sindarov. He's lower than Peter Spiedler. All due respect to Peter, of course, he's a great player, but he is also retired, and he would probably say himself that he's not as strong as Vincent.
I'm not saying the
Um,
URS is perfect. I'm just saying that we need to find something that combines all three disciplines, if you want to put it that way.
sure,
Um,
and as much as I respect Artemi's play, I think he's a fantastic player. I also don't think that he should be ranked number 6 in the world.
Impressive.
So yeah, there's like a lot of weird things. I don't think this rating system gets it right, if we're being honest. Of course, we can argue about like who's stronger than who all day, but like I didn't. Arjun is like number 15 in the world in this rating system, lower than Dubov. It's like just none of it is consistent or makes sense.
I'll
So
tell you why Artemiev is so high rated. It's because his blitz is 2802, his rapid is 2747, which is huge, and his regular is 2705.
okay, so wait, in Blitz he's number 4 in the world. In
Yes,
Rapid he's
yes.
number 8 in the world, and in Classical he's um uh, number 38, and
Hmm.
this comes out to an average of 6.
Well, if you take only the rapid and the blitz, then yes, four
So
and
we're
eight.
we're like weighting it very heavily for Blitz, right?
I think that's how it is actually. I think
Okay, yeah, it
this
just doesn't make
URS
sense.
just weighs rapid and blitz way more than classical, which
I mean,
should be
Classical should be weighted the most. So I've discussed rating systems
agreed. Yeah,
before. Classical should be weighted the most for one reason. Even if we consider Classical, Rapid, and Blitz as just totally separate entities, all equally important, Classical is still the one which is played the most, and therefore you're going to get the most accurate ratings.
agreed.
Then after that, I think Blitz and Rapid are probably played more or less equally. So you could weight those equally if you want. But some people will take Rapid more seriously because if we go to like a tiebreak, it always starts with Rapid. So like the candidate's tiebreak starts with Rapid, and therefore Rapid is the one which is going to be more consequential usually. The same way that like Armageddon is not even given a time control, is not even given a separate rating because it's not really played so much, so people don't care too much about your Armageddon results. And so Classical should be weighted the most, and maybe Rapid after that, and Blitz after that. Because Blitz, it's like, of course, we do have ratings which are definitely meaningful, but people don't play a lot, so they may not be ratings that reflect your current strength. Like I haven't played a big Blitz tournament since December, so it's been 5 months. So is my rating very accurate of my strength? Maybe, maybe not. Um, I had some like I did have some like random Blitz tournaments after that, but not too many. And like we saw Wei, who was under 2,700 in Blitz. He played one tournament, he did great, and now he's 27-21. So we can say very likely his rating is underrated because he just doesn't play very much, so it hasn't had chance. And like Ding is number 2 in the world in Rapid. And I would argue very strongly that he's not even close to second best Rapid player in the world because he hasn't played Rapid except for 4 games in the last 5 years, the match.
Yeah,
Um, so like, or actually, I think he did play a tournament in China where he lost a bunch of rating, but yeah, his rating is not going to accurately reflect his strength because he doesn't play too much. And this is kind of across the board. You're going to see trends like this.
yeah, yeah. No, no, for sure. But to kind of combine the points that you've made, and I think they're very salient points. We should be considering rapid and blitz. Now the question of percentage, how much weight you're going to put on them, that's a completely different question. Classical definitely should be much higher rated than all of these. Probably URS right now is on the right track, but they need to adjust. And to be honest, I don't think they've worked on it too much recently. I think it's kind of a project that has been left. I want to say it has left behind, but I don't want to insult anybody because I don't know who's working on it. But yes, I hope they will revive it, and maybe if they revive it, they fine tune it as well, because I do think that they're on the right track to combine the disciplines. But yeah.
I will actually make one argument that I'm just looking at the classical list in top 10,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that this top 10, although it could be changed around a bunch, does kind of reflect the best players of the last few years. So it's Magnus the number one
Mm-hmm.
for obvious reasons.
Yes.
I'm number two, and although I do have like lots of ups and downs, like I think it's fair to put me in the top 10 at least.
Yeah.
Hikaru number three, I also think is like very
Number two is
fair.
very
You
fair.
could maybe switch around a bit, but Hikaru has won numerous tournaments, plus three in the candidates in the last few years. Um, won the Grand Prix, won Norway Chess, won the American Cup, and so on. Jan won two candidates in the last 4 years, but still, Jan at number four, it's like pretty reasonable, fair. Uh, Noterbeck is very hot,
Yes.
so he's number five.
Mm-hmm.
He's very often getting to like the finals or semifinals of these knockout events. He's doing well online. He's doing well over the board. He won two events this year.
He's a player that knows to stay at the top, for sure.
He's one of those players who can play badly but can also play super super well. So he's going to be one of those guys who's always like a contender. Arjun at number six, I think also he like wins a bunch of tournaments.
Super hot right now. Yes.
Gukesh won the candidates. He's number seven.
And Arjun
Won the
also
candidate.
played quite well in the GCT. So it's not a fluke. It's not something that he's been building in online and open events only. He played.
Well, Arjun is not really an online player. Like he doesn't play much online, but
Yes.
he is very very good over the board for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
But not only in open events and not only in classical chess, he's showing that he's very good in rapid and blitz as
well,
well.
he tied for first in Siegmund. He lost the tiebreak to Noterbeck, but yeah, he tied for first in the tournament. Then Gukesh, he won the candidates. He also tied for first in Tata Steel.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of obvious. Ding is actually the player I might not put in the top 10, but he's still the world champion. So, but yeah, like recent results, I would definitely think Ding would be out. Wesley on number nine is like always so consistent. Uh, Even if he's not winning many tournaments, he's always consistently doing pretty well. And Wei at number 10, I actually think you could put him higher because like between Tata Steel winning that rapid tournament in China
Oh yeah.
and almost winning the Grand Chess Tour event,
No
I think
ways.
like he's so hot that I wouldn't be surprised to see him top five at some point. Like he's one of the guys who I would maybe consider a bit more underrated than overrated.
Yes. That
And yeah,
I
there's
completely
like
agree.
other players who have had great success recently, like Levon won American Cup, won WR Masters, and so on. But I think this top 10 is like really decent. Um, and you could change it around a bit, but it's not a fluke. There's no fluke in this classical list, I think.
Agreed.
Except for like I think with all due respect, Vichy never plays and probably I wouldn't put him at number 11 these days.
Sure. But I mean, again, Vishy is semi-retired. Yeah, he plays a few games in the Bundesliga, and
Yeah.
outside of that, not much.
If someone's really inactive, then their rating is probably not accurate, like Vichy and Karakin, although it might also be accurate. It might be that like Vichy starts playing 100 games a year and maybe he even keeps 2750. You just
Maybe,
can't speculate on it.
maybe.
But but he's so inactive that I think it's natural to assume he probably would lose if he started to play very actively.
Would you say it's kind of similar to Ding in that regard? Like we don't
I
actually
think
know
it's
where to place Ding.
no, I think Ding we kind of know. Unless like things turn around, then he will just like slowly bleed his rating out because like his level is not indicative of his rating. I mean, if you look at like his last few tournaments, so he needs to find his previous form. Otherwise, I actually expect him to lose more rating. Now, that could change at any time because he's such a classy player, but assuming the trends continue, then he will lose rating
Yeah,
and Wei will gain rating. That's
yeah,
just I think that like recent trends are actually very, very likely to be helpful in understanding where a person's going. I
yeah,
noticed this in myself. I noticed this in other players. That's why I think like the hot guys, Noterbeck, Arjun, Wei, Gukesh, as well, like they have a very good chance of increasing their rating. And a guy like maybe Ding could have a, I don't know about Alireza. That's the thing. Like he's on a severe downward trend, but he could also just like gain it all back very quickly. He's one of those guys, you never know about him.
Alireza will be back for sure.
Yeah,
I
he'll
have
be
no
back,
doubt
but
about it.
will he be like 2780 in 2 months? It could be, or will he be 2720 in 2 months? Also could be.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think we're going to see him back in top 10. I don't know 2780, but definitely back in top 10, which is only around 20 rating points from where he is right now. In fact,
Uh,
more like
I'll
15
tell you,
rating points.
it's yeah, it's 18 actually, 18
Yeah,
points.
18 rating points to get back in the top 10. But yes, I mean, I have no doubt that we're going to see him back. Um, cool, cool, cool. Okay, I mean, I'm sure this rating discussion is going to go on and could go on forever. There are so many angles that you can
Yeah,
look at
yeah,
it from.
it's very interesting, but it's hard to discuss it because everyone will have a slightly different opinion.
Yep. And Ding, for example, I think we're going to have a lot of questions answered in just a couple of weeks when Norway starts.
Okay, so
Because
you remember my prediction, right? It was a year ago.
that,
Norway Chess last year.
yes, that's true. No,
I told you he would be the number two in China.
that was during Romania, I think.
No, no, it was during Norway. Like,
Was it during
trust me on that. It
Norway?
was during Norway.
Yes.
So if he loses, I'm not wishing him badly, but if he loses 8 points, then my prediction will be accurate.
Well,
But
the
he has to lose
problem
exactly.
is, and why I kind of fought back on that is that Wei was not playing at that point. Wei was nowhere to be seen. Nobody knew where Wei was at that point. He hasn't been playing chess in years at that
My
point.
prediction was not about Wei Yi. I got the detail
Yes,
wrong. I
yes,
thought it was Yu Yang Yi.
yes. That's what I'm saying. Yu Yang is nowhere to be found right now.
Well,
Yu
he's
Yang is
27-14, but yeah, he's
number
he's not
29.
passing Ding. But we just leave out the part of my prediction that was wrong and just that's how you make an accurate prediction. You leave out the part that was incorrect.
Okay, all right. We'll leave it at that. But yes, definitely very excited about Norway Chess. Very excited to see how that one is going to play out. What's been happening? What else has been happening? CCT, speaking of Alireza and Magnus, you played in that one as well, though not very successful, unfortunately. Let's cover your side of the story in that one. You qualified to
I mean,
Division One
I'll just
or
mention it
Division Two?
briefly, because I there was nothing remarkable. I didn't play well.
Mm-hmm.
I played well in the play and I got first place,
In the plane,
and that was
yes,
the
yes.
end of the good news. I lost a match to be demoted to Division Two, a match which I honestly don't think I should have lost, but I did.
Against who?
I was outplayed against Ivic,
Ah, Ivic, yes.
and then I got to Division Two, and then I just continued to lose matches to the point that I was out. I lost two matches and I won one, and even in the match I won, I didn't really feel very good about my play. And overall, it was just disappointing. But yeah, it's happens. I wasn't in good shape, um, and it kind of made itself felt. And Division Two was won by Maxime Bachelot-Lagrave, I think quite deservedly overall, although the finish was a bit rocky against Wesley, but okay, overall Maxime definitely deserved it. So he won Division Two. He goes to Division One next time. Very good for him.
Did he come
And
from the winners bracket or the losers bracket? Because I remember he lost against Ivic. I'm getting very confused about all these
yeah,
brackets and all
so
these
we both lost
matches.
against Ivic and went to Division Two. But the difference was that he recovered from that, and he that was to decide the divisions. So Ivic went to
Mm,
Division One because of
mm,
that.
okay, that
And
makes
then
sense.
Maxime won all his matches to stay in the winners bracket. He lost to Wesley to force a reset, although he really should have won the first match against Wesley. It was like he was kind of crushing Wesley. But then Wesley made a comeback, and then he beat Wesley in the kind of reset, I guess you want to call it, of the final. And therefore he became the winner.
Hmm.
And yeah, that's that. Of course, the big story was Alireza won the whole thing. He won the Division One, and the way he did that was kind of remarkable because he got to a final where he had to win two matches. The reason that he got to this final is because he lost to Duda early on. So basically, he lost his first match, I think, against Duda, although it
Mhm.
was a very close match. And then he proceeded to win one, two, three, four matches to get to the final. And then he won two matches against Magnus.
Yes. Yes.
So the comeback was like
Remarkable.
pretty, pretty amazing. On his way there, he beat Serrana, Lazovic, Duda, comeback, revenge, Vincent, convincingly, and then Magnus twice. I mean, that's why I say that like with Alireza, you never know. He could also always like just play super, super good. And this was a pretty amazing, really well played also against Magnus overall,
Should we
I think.
go over a couple of games from those two matches? The one against Magnus, maybe the decisive
Yeah.
ones.
Yeah, I thought the first match was really fun to watch. They were like really sharp games. So like just to
Excuse me.
summarize he had a bit of a, let's say like upper hand in the first two games, but it ended in two draws, and then he lost the third. Magnus played a really nice game.
Yes.
Uh, and then you would think that like Magnus is a 99.9% favorite because he just needs one draw. And even if Alireza wins that, then Alireza has to win an Armageddon and then another match. But somehow that's what happened. Alireza won a comeback game from a
Yes.
drawn position objectively at some point. Then he won a pretty smooth Armageddon with black. And then he uh, played another match. That was the reset. They drew
Yes.
two games. Again, I think from positions of strength. So Alireza was almost always on the better side of it. Like in the first game, much better. Second game, much better. And then he won another Armageddon, which was another smooth game. So it really felt like he was just the better player that day. Like overall, he just played better than Magnus. That was my impression of it.
Mm, mm. Yeah. No. Absolutely. Do you have any games you want to look at and show the decisive moments from?
I mean, I think we can go for this final Armageddon game, right? It's To be honest, I haven't like analyzed this game, but Magnus was playing. So it's this like
Is this the
Bishop's
one
opening
where?
game.
Okay, wait. Let me try to find that one. Boom. Bishop's opening. Yes. Alireza is with white. Magnus is with black. It
Yeah. So what are
seems
the initial
like
times? Magnus
nine
was
minutes, 10 minutes
7:24.
versus 7:24. Yeah.
Yeah. So Magnus started to play the Petrov, very unusual for him. So Alireza avoided it with the Bishop's opening, which is logical, I guess, because the Petrov is pretty theoretical. You maybe don't want to get involved in that stuff in an Armageddon. Uh, but it looked like Alireza just knew like nothing in the opening because he played this 92 move. It's so harmless. I mean, you can play like this, but black is just immediately slightly better, I guess. Um, so you wouldn't expect this as like a good approach, but somewhere Magnus went wrong in the opening. I think he played a bit too direct. Like this whole knight c5 d4 was
Mm-hmm.
maybe like a sort of Armageddon psychological trap. It's like you're trying to simplify when objectively you have the center, so you should probably keep the tension in the center. It's basically an Italian if you think about it in some ways. Like black should play h6, knight f8, knight g6. I mean, that's it's more or less like black is playing white in an Italian.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yep.
And instead Magnus decided to trade pawns, and then it suddenly got like after knight c4 kind of annoying for black because e5 is attacked and you really want to defend this pawn, but maybe you shouldn't. You should play a5 or something, but it's not easy in Armageddon. Like it's these Armageddon games are just a totally different type of chess. And so after knight c4, it looks like Magnus is already in some sort of danger.
Yeah. He played knight f4, and now the position already um, gets a bit
Yeah, it's already
chaotic,
dangerous.
right?
It's already a dangerous position. And then um like after knight d6, you could kind of visually like at this point I was like, okay, hard to imagine Magnus surviving this
Mm-hmm.
because you either sack a piece with black or you allow this knight on d6 to live forever, and white's play becomes so easy. So after Alireza found knight d6, Magnus looked like really, really disappointed, upset, Probably he felt this was the moment that it's just like maybe no way back already.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Alireza played like super well for a long time. Although I
So
have to say his position did kind of play itself for a while, but still, I mean, he was playing really, really well. And at some point he started to get nervous. Like I was watching live after like Bishop C6, he has 2 minutes up, he has a winning position. Everyone can see that. Both Alireza and Magnus understand it's completely winning, but still you have to find the moves. And I kind of liked his knight C8 because it's not a move that you play instinctively. You keep the knight on D6, but it makes the play very concrete. He took the pawn on A7, attacking the bishop. Now he's up 2 pawns.
mm-hmm.
And then very importantly, he gets rid of the bishop from C6. And bishop A4 that he found a really nice move, queen B7, which did come to mind naturally, but still very important. And yeah, when I was thinking about the position, I like the commentators were discussing queen B7, and it was also the first move that came to mind. But I was thinking, well, like after queen B7, D4, C6, queen D8, it doesn't look so easy because knight takes D4 allows bishop takes E5, and that's not good for white.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of was like at this moment kind of stuck. I was like, queen b7 looks correct, but how do you continue? And I think Alireza only played queen b7 because he had seen queen b4, and Magnus missed this for sure. Although Magnus also had no choice. Like at this point, he missed it, but even if he had seen it, it wouldn't have helped him.
Yeah.
And Alireza saw this. This was the last important move. After that, it was just kind of just super easy. I mean, no chances anymore. At that point, it was like 100% Alireza wins this game. And yeah, this finish was smooth. I mean, there was really no like chances, and that was it.
Yeah, yeah, no. I think
That was like one of the best Armageddon games I've seen um in quite a long time, and overall probably one of the best performances I've seen in this format in a long time.
yeah, he really didn't make a lot of mistakes, Alireza, in that match, and not a lot of people were giving him a lot of chances before his matches, for good reason. But at the same time, he's not the first one that has done it against Magnus. MVL has won against Magnus
Yeah,
twice.
Maxime did it.
So
It's possible. It's difficult, but it's possible.
but I'm feeling like once you win one match coming from the losers bracket and you reset the championship bracket, I feel like you're the one with the upper hand in the match.
It's hard to say, of course, because you could be inspired, but you
From
could
a
also kind of
psychological
relax,
perspective, right?
could kind of relax prematurely too. Like I won the match, you feel like I achieved my goal, but still there's like a just as difficult match to play. But it felt like Magnus, like the way that he lost that fourth game, that was really a turning point because he actually was in that fourth game against Alireza in the first match.
Mm-hmm.
After Rook F6,
Let's see if I
he
can.
was probably either objectively winning um, or at least like black is not in danger if he just played E3. And if you play E3, which is also such a natural move,
Yes.
it's like, what does white do anymore? Probably he would play Rook F4, King E5, and Rook F1. And maybe what they miss is Rook E2.
And just
But
double
after Rook
up on the
E2, it's
second.
game over because then you just put the rooks on the second and you mate white with the help of the pawn.
Yeah.
So if he had played E3, it's basically match over. And then he played Rook C1, Rook F1. And here again, if he takes an E3, I actually don't understand what white can do here. It is kind of match over because you just play King E4, King F3, and the pawn in E3 is too strong. I just don't understand this moment.
And you're
I
also
understand
just
not playing
threatening to
E3.
give checks, right? Like Rook B1, Rook B2 just finishes the game.
Well, then the king maybe runs to G3. Like if B5, I don't know if you start giving checks. Rook B1, King E2, Rook B2, King F3, Rook F2, King G3. Maybe still also draw. But yeah,
Now
the
you can
drawing
go
margin is so high.
Rook F1, right? For example.
Yeah. But maybe but just B5, King E4. Like white is the one who has to force the draw.
Yeah.
Uh, it's just no risk. So I didn't understand this moment. Rook C2, just like missing Rook G3, but it's like you're threatening mate in 2. How do you miss Rook G3? I don't get this. This was a huge turning point. And Magnus played Rook C2 in a second. Like literally, he didn't think.
Yeah.
So this was a very rare like huge miss by Magnus.
Yeah.
Because if he takes on F1 and E3, it's just that's it.
Yeah.
Match is over.
Not something that we see Magnus missing very often. I mean, Magnus has
Yeah.
been on such a roll, yeah, winning 7 tournaments in a row. Could have probably won the eighth. At some point, something will go wrong for him as well.
Yeah,
It
it's
just
also like
happens, you know.
it's easy to criticize from the side, but of course, in the heat of the moment, you kind of well, we talked about this with Maurice, you kind of lose perspective. It's like things which are easy, they suddenly become difficult because you're in the heat of it. You're not looking from a relaxed, neutral perspective. So this is one of those moments Magnus will probably be like, "What the hell was I doing? I mean, how could I, how could I lose that position?"
Well, I think that's exactly what he did, right?
Yeah, yeah,
He
maybe
started
that's why.
swearing in Norwegian, I would assume. Yeah, obviously, it's a tilt-inducing moment for sure, especially for players such as Magnus. Um,
Yeah.
but yes, very very exciting, and congratulations to Alireza. Yeah, and last but not least, there is this tournament that's being planned for later in the year. 4-player tournament organized by Vadim Rosenstein, the organizer of WR Masters. 4 players, you're one of them. $1 million buy-in per person, per player. Winner takes 2 million. Second place 1.5, third place zero point 0.4, fourth place, last place 0. You've been invited to that one. Can you tell us anything about it? Any insights about it? Is it happening, first of all,
Well, okay,
or
so
is it just a joke?
first of all,
It sounds like a joke.
I thought it was a joke at the start. I really did. And then I got invited to play. Like, do you want to play this tournament? And at first I was like, well, I can see if I can find someone to stake me because I'm not going to risk $1 million. Um, but I didn't expect to. But somehow I did find someone to stake me. Um, so this is sort of like poker, right? I don't know exactly how it works in poker, but basically the okay. So first of all, the details of the tournament are it's a $1 million buy-in, um, and you play for 2 million, 1.5 million, 600,000, or zero. So in two cases you lose a lot of money, in two cases you win a lot of money.
I think point
And
0.4,
depending,
right?
what's that?
Point 0.4, I think, not point 0.6.
Oh, did I say, yeah, yeah, 0.4.
400,
For
400,000.
400,000. Yeah, 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 you're correct. Which means that like the organizer takes a, I guess, organization fee.
100,000, yes.
Yeah. So it depends on how you view your chances in such a tournament and also how willing you are to risk. And although I view my chances as decent, like probably more likely to get top two than bottom two, I still don't really feel like risking significantly. So I wasn't like planning to play unless I found someone to stake me. And really didn't expect to, but I actually did find someone to stake me and reduces my risk, although there is still some risk, without giving like the terms of it, but reduces my risk. But yeah, basically, I'm a horse, and someone is betting on me, and I'm also in on the action somewhat. So yeah, if I win, it's good. If I get last place, I get screwed. And if I win, it's good for everyone. And if I get last place, everyone's screwed. And yeah, I don't know. So the other details about the tournament are 4 players. The other people invited are Jan Nepomniachtchi, Norbert Abdusattorov, who I think like Norbert was immediately in. So I think that he maybe has sponsorship or maybe has like a backer who because he was like immediately in. And and then the fourth player is Hans. And it of course did start because of Hans, because they had some like silly Twitter thing. I don't know, it wasn't really an argument, but it was like some back and forth between Hans and Vadim, who's the organizer. And like normally I wouldn't take it seriously, but I know that Vadim has organized a lot of serious events and does fund a lot of serious events. And he organizes WR Masters and the Team Rapid Championship. and some other events as well. So I did know that there was like going to be some serious organization behind it. It's, but I still thought like this would never amount to anything. It's just sort of a joke. But then he said that Hans was interested and ready to play, and that Noterbeck and Jan were interested and ready to play. And yeah, then I am like officially, if everyone else plays, then I am playing.
Hmm.
Now, is it 100% that everyone will have secured the money to play at the end by it's supposed to start November 21st? I can't say it's 100%, but from my end, I am like absolutely in and do have the money to play, and it's
It,
really up to the other players. From what I understand, Noterbeck and Jan are also ready to play, and Hans, I think, has also said he's ready to play. And I don't know anything about their like if they've been if they're being funded, but I would assume that like people don't really want to risk $1 million, right? So um, it's also one of those things that someone could just randomly get interested in because it's funny.
hmm.
It's like
Hmm.
the most money in the chess tournament, I guess, from that perspective ever.
Hmm.
It's also a 1 day event,
One day,
which is
6 rounds.
absolutely
Yeah.
ridiculous. Yeah, it's a double round robin and then and no increment, 15-minute no increment. And if there's a tie, then it'll be Armageddon, which is absolutely insane. Like if we're playing, but I have played with no increment. I'm like very fine with it. And
I actually saw you recently started playing a lot on chess.com. You started playing a lot of random games. Just go online, start playing some 3.0, no increment. Is that training for that tournament?
no. It's just okay.
Or you
I
just enjoy?
understand.
I mean, obviously, you're just enjoying playing as well, but is it also in the back of your mind training for that one?
No, it's not at all. First of all, it was kind of out of boredom, and just because I understand that it's possible to farm rating, and I just want to see how easy it is to like get a 3200 rating because players who I consider not as strong as me in Blitz have achieved 3200. And so I'm just seeing like I think it's pretty easy if you find the right opponent. It also
Mm-hmm.
comes back to this whole like Kramnik and Hikaru thing, which is uh how like how big of a streak can you get? And I do really feel like playing against the right 2800 player, I can probably go like 30-0 maybe. Um so I don't think these streaks are like so crazy unrealistic.
Mm-hmm.
And if I was maybe a bit more tricky, I could maybe go even more. And I don't flag people, so I kind of agree to a drop. It's just like a drawn end game. So if you're ready to flag, then maybe going on like a massive streak is even more realistic. But yeah, my best like streak is I played a 2850, 2860 player. And I think the final score was 12 and a half. I think I usually I don't have so much time to play in like one burst. So if I kept going, I could probably rack up like a really big score against someone who gets a bit tilted and yeah. So anyway, that's unrelated.
Mm-hmm. Well, I not necessarily. Again, I did feel like maybe you're training for something, just because I'm always receiving these notifications on my phone. Fabiano Caruana is playing, and I didn't used to receive those as often.
Yeah. Well, so I saw like some discussions about this tournament, this this high roller event. Uh, but yeah, it's I don't know the details of whether or not it will happen. Most people think it's a joke. I think that maybe it's more likely to happen than not, but I also wouldn't be surprised if at the end um it doesn't kind of go through. It is possible. Although I really do want to see it happen. It would be an enormously enormously fun event. So we'll see.
Yeah, very excited about it. Yeah, hopefully it's going to happen. Everybody is going to find the funding, which I'm sure everybody is working towards. And Vadim seems like a very reasonable and very serious guy, and somewhat of a very passionate fan of chess. That's basically why the World Rapid Team event started happening, and now it's kind of a serious thing. It's going to happen in Kazakhstan at the beginning of August, once again, second edition. He's been having WR Masters, which everybody that participated in said The organization was terrific. So definitely seems like a serious guy. And yeah, I wouldn't second guess him if he says
I don't
he's
know if
going
this
to
started
organize something.
seriously, but the thing is like it's possible for this to get organized. You just need to find the money, right?
Yeah.
The players are willing to play. And like I remember this quote, I think it was back in the day by Jen Shahadi. It was about the difference between poker and chess, because she plays both, obviously quite well. And it was like chess is interesting as a game. It's just a like fascinating game. And poker is sort of less interesting as a game, but the money makes it interesting because poker has a huge amount of money
Yeah.
involved. Like you can't really play poker without money. You can't play chess without money. You can't play poker without stakes. You kind of need to have something to play for. That's the essence of the game, right?
Yeah.
So this tournament in itself, of course, like a 15-minute double round robin held over one day. If it was like for a prize fund of 20 grand, 10 grand, and so on, or like normal tournaments, like 30 grand first prize and so on, would not generate any interest, but the money makes it interesting. And again, this is not like I'm not entering this tournament as a way to like get it at Hans. Um, I'm only interested in it because it's unique in terms of the amount of money um, which is involved. And
Yeah.
also that kind of does increase the pressure and the stakes, and yeah, it also makes it more competitive from that point of view as well.
Exciting. No. Definitely something to look forward to if it happens. Cool, Fabi. Well, I think we're going to catch up once again while you're in Spain before you start Norway. But yeah, Sharjah is happening right now. There is no point in us talking about it until it's over. I'm sure we'll talk about it in our next episode. But for the moment, I think that's more or less it for the week. Exciting news. Lots of interesting things happening in the chess world. So yeah, guys, stay tuned. Like the podcast. Check out the shop. We still have, perhaps for a very limited run, we still have the Team Caruana shirts. I think we're going to discontinue those and maybe come up with a new drop. But that drop is most likely going to get discontinued. If you want to get your last few pieces, do it now. Probably at the end of May, we're going to discontinue those. But yeah, like, subscribe, tell your friends where you're listening to your chess news, chess podcasts, and we'll see you guys in the next episode. Cheers.